Good morning, friends. Mrs. Taima here. We are getting ready to start a new book today. We so far have read 3 books that tell us about different types of libraries: Tomas and the Library Lady, Waiting for the Biblioburro, and My Librarian is a Camel. All of these books so far are going to help us answer our big essential question, which is, how do books change lives around the world? Today, our book that we're going to start reading is called That Book Woman. You are going to follow along with Miss Spears for just a little bit, and then I will come back to you and we'll read the book together. Our focusing question, our content framing question today is about noticing and wondering. So make sure that you follow along really carefully. See you soon.
Hello, first grade friends, and welcome back to Wit and Wisdom in Sync. I'm Tanisha Spears, and I'm excited to get back into our work today. But before we do, let's take a moment to make sure we have all of our materials ready. For this lesson, you will need your copy of That Book Woman, if you have it. You'll need your Wit and Wisdom in Sync journal and a pencil. Pause the video if you need to gather your materials. As you may remember, our first module is a world of books, and for this module, we have been trying to answer our big question, or our essential question, which is, how do books change lives around the world? Before we continue to build our knowledge to answer that big question or that essential question, we'll spend a few days closely reading the text, That Book Woman. And as we read, we will be thinking about this focusing question. How does the Packhorse Librarian change life for Cal? I'll say that one more time. How does the Packhorse Librarian change life for Cal? Now, before we make some observations, I want you to take a second to remind yourself what the symbols on the screen represent. What do they represent? Tell your learning partner, or say it aloud if your learning partner is not available. I'm sure you guessed it. The first symbol represents the things we notice, and the second symbol represents things we wonder when we are reading or listening to a text. Now that you've reviewed the symbols used to represent notice and wonder, I want to share the question that will frame our learning for today. This question will also help us build our knowledge to answer our essential question, or the big question for the module. Our content framing question for today is, what do I notice and wonder about this text? And to get you ready to make observations about the text, we're going to practice together. Take a look at the front cover of the book. What do you notice? Tell your learning partner one thing you notice. Here are a few things I noticed. I noticed the lady or girl is looking at a book. And I noticed the boy kind of looking out the corner of his eye. I also noticed someone on a horse. Did you notice some of the same things? I'm sure you did. Now look at the front cover one more time. What do you wonder? Remember, to wonder is to be curious and come up with questions that you want answered when you read. So what do you wonder? Tell your learning partner one thing you wonder. Here is something I wondered. Why is the boy looking out the side of his eye? And who is riding the horse? I bet you may have wondered some of the same things I did, and you may have wondered something else. That's the beauty of making observations before we read. We all wonder and notice different things. You may have also noticed that when I was wondering, I was using question words. These question words are words that you've seen and used before, but let's take a minute to quickly review them on the Wonder Wheel. Take a look at the Wonder Wheel you see on the screen. This Wonder Wheel is what we will use with question words to show curiosity. So I want you to repeat after me as I review the question words. I wonder who, where, when, what, why, and how. Now, let's ask some questions about the back cover of the book using the question words what, how, and why. I am going to read an excerpt or a small part from the book. And as I'm reading it, I want you to be thinking of questions that you have. Are you ready? Listen closely. Now, what that lady brings, it's sure no treasure, not to me, but books. Would you believe a parcel of books she's packed? Clear up the mountainside, a hard day's ride, and all for naught, I reckon. I wonder, what is a parcel of books? And how does she bring books up the mountain? And why does she bring books? What questions do you have? I'd like you to take a moment and share one question that you have about the book. Remember to use one of the question words from the Wonder Wheel. Remember, you're wondering who, where, when, what, why, or how. Okay, now that you've thought of your question, I want you to either record yourself asking the question, or if you'd like, you can write I review. Will you say after why, how? Books. So cute. I am so now while you record, pause the video now while you record your big asking the like you can pause your question. Video now while you record and note.
Okay, sorry about that technology issue there at the end of the video. My mouse got attached to the thing that moves the timeline on the video, and I couldn't figure out how to stop it. So, sorry for the back and forth there for a minute. Now, I have pulled up on my screen the picture of the back of the book that she read to you, Miss Spears read to you, and also the Wonder Wheel. And now it is your turn to write down a wonder or a question that you have about the back of the book using a question word like who, where, when, what, why, or how. You're going to write that in your Wit and Wisdom notebook. And then on the next slide, there is a link to a Padlet. And we haven't used Padlet before, but I think that you will have an okay time to do it. I will insert a video on this slide that you're watching right now with instructions of how to access Padlet. But it's pretty self-explanatory, and I'll show you how to do it. So first, write down your question Let me reread the back of the book to you real quick. It says, "Now what that lady brings, it's sure no treasure, not to me, but books. Would you believe? A passel of books she's packed clear up the mountainside. A hard day's ride and all for naught, I reckon." All right, now is your turn to write down your wonder in your notebook and go to the next slide when you're done and see how to share that with your friends.